Yo guys, scan that QR to drop a dono. But imagine, what if the Prince of all Saiyans crashed Naruto's lowest moment? Let's get into it.
The darkness of the Konoha forest felt totally suffocating. A desperate, terrified Naruto clutched the forbidden scroll, completely cornered by a traitor. Every single thing he believed was a lie. The horrifying truth about the demon fox was tearing his fragile mind apart. Mizuki wasn't just going to take the scroll back. He was aiming to erase the kid from existence entirely. Irika pushed through agonizing pain. His only thought was shielding his student from a brutal, imminent death. The giant blade left Mizuki's hands, locked perfectly on target. There was absolutely zero chance for Naruto to dodge this. Time seemed to freeze completely. The cold metal grew larger, promising nothing but an instant, brutal end. Irika threw his own life away without a second thought. A desperate sacrifice for a kid everyone else hated. But right before impact, the fabric of the multiverse violently ripped open directly above the battlefield.
What the hell is that? Is that a jutsu?
A cataclysmic force crashed down from the heavens. It wasn't chakra. This was raw, untamed, terrifying power. The giant shuriken was swatted away like a cheap plastic toy just from the sheer shockwave of the impact. Irika shielded the boy as they were tossed like ragdolls. They survived, but the danger had just skyrocketed. The dust began to settle around a glowing crater. Whatever fell from that rift was still alive. The footsteps were heavy. Arrogant. This wasn't some lost traveler. This was a predator stepping into a new territory. He wasn't injured. He wasn't even out of breath. He was just deeply, deeply annoyed by the landing. The Prince of all Saiyans had arrived. And he was instantly disgusted by this weak, pathetic little dimension. Mizuki's brain couldn't process the monster standing before him. His shinobi instincts completely shattered into pure, primal fear. But Naruto didn't feel fear. Looking at the proud warrior, the boy felt an overwhelming, unexplainable sense of absolute safety. Cornered rats will always bite. Mizuki threw his weapon in a pathetic, desperate attempt to reclaim his dominance. For a ninja, it was a lethal strike. For a Saiyan, it was moving in agonizing, laughable slow motion. 2 fingers. That was all it took to completely shatter a Chunin's strongest, most desperate attack. The absolute disrespect was suffocating. Vegeta didn't need to power up. His mere existence was an insult to them. Everything Mizuki knew about power, chakra, and the ninja world had just been brutally thrown in the garbage. He hated crying kids. But looking at this loud, pathetic brat, he saw a flash of his own son, Trunks. A rare, microscopic shred of fatherly instinct kicked in. And for the traitor who caused those tears, playtime was over. The air grew instantly heavy. He didn't even need to power up to make the entire forest hold its breath. Mizuki reached for his explosive tags, a last-ditch effort from a dead man walking. He was completely out of options.
You dare throw your pathetic little toys at me? Disgusting trash!
The Prince of Saiyans had made his judgment. Konoha was about to learn what true, absolute power actually looked like. Driven to absolute madness by fear, Mizuki unleashed every explosive tag he had left, praying for a miracle. The lethal projectiles surrounded the warrior in a perfect kill zone. In the ninja world, this was checkmate. The forest erupted in a blinding inferno. A concentrated blast designed to incinerate flesh and shatter bone instantly. Irika shielded Naruto from the scorching heat. No normal human could ever survive a direct hit like that.
Yeah! Got him! You're dead meat, you arrogant freak!
But as the thick smoke slowly cleared, the horrifying reality of the situation finally settled in. The explosion didn't even singe his armor. To a Saiyan elite, those bombs were nothing more than a warm breeze. In that exact moment, the arrogant ninja realized he wasn't fighting a man. He had provoked a god. Behind the monster, a broken boy wept. Naruto was completely shattered by the cruel betrayal of his only teacher. Vegeta hated weakness. He despised crying. But something in the kid's desperate, isolated sobs triggered a buried memory. For a split second, he didn't see a pathetic ninja brat. He saw the face of his own son. That fleeting moment of fatherly empathy instantly warped into something far more dangerous. Pure, silent, royal fury. Vegeta didn't bother taking a fighting stance. Trash like this didn't deserve to see his martial arts. He simply let his killing intent leak out. A crushing, physical manifestation of the prince's absolute superiority. It wasn't genjutsu. It wasn't a trick. The gravity in the clearing literally felt like it had multiplied by 50. The earth itself began to shatter beneath his boots, unable to handle the sheer density of his spiritual energy. Mizuki's body simply gave up. His shinobi conditioning was entirely useless against a force that could destroy planets. He didn't lift a finger. He didn't speak a single word. He just stood there, letting his pride suffocate the forest. Strangely, the crushing gravity completely bypassed Naruto and Iruka. The Saiyan's control over his energy was terrifyingly precise. Mizuki's brain shut down to protect itself. The sheer terror of Vegeta's aura was literally frying his nervous system. Without a single punch thrown, the threat was entirely neutralized. The coward had been completely broken.
Pathetic trash. I didn't even need to lift a finger.
The tension evaporated, leaving only a deafening silence. A new apex predator had just claimed this world. And in that moment, the most hated kid in the village found the ultimate mentor. Someone who didn't fear monsters.
Whoa, that royal energy is totally insane. Rate Vegeta's killing intent down in the comments right now, guys.
The first light of dawn washed over the hidden village, but inside the Hokage tower, a massive political storm was just beginning to brew. Hiruzen Sarutobi had faced world wars and legendary demons, but the sheer presence of the stranger in his office set off every internal alarm. In a room where everyone bowed to the ultimate authority of the village, the Saiyan prince stood like an immovable, arrogant mountain. To Vegeta, this grand political office felt like a pathetic little wooden treehouse. He was already losing his extremely thin patience. The Hokage wasn't taking any chances. The elite shadows of the village were locked and loaded, ready to strike at a microsecond's notice. Hiruzen attempted to establish dominance, letting his legendary chakra fill the room to force the arrogant outsider to his knees. It was like trying to drown a shark with a cup of water. Vegeta found the old man's attempt utterly pathetic. Naruto had never seen anyone disrespect the Hokage and live. This guy wasn't just strong, he was completely untouchable. Pushed to his limit by the sheer disrespect, Hiruzen demanded to know exactly who this dangerous anomaly was, and what his intentions were. Vegeta wasn't used to being interrogated. The mere fact that this frail old man was demanding answers felt like a personal insult. The ANBU interpreted the footstep as an immediate threat to the Hokage. Their bloodlust spiked in the shadows. Hiruzen's combat instincts flared violently. He suddenly realized that his hidden guards weren't protecting him, they were about to trigger a massacre. Vegeta felt their pathetic bloodlust. He didn't need eyes to see the rats in the ceiling. He just decided he was done playing along. Without moving a muscle, Vegeta dropped an invisible ocean of physical pressure onto the entire room. It wasn't chakra. It was pure, unfiltered killing intent condensed into actual, physical gravity. The very air turned into solid lead. The power dynamic flipped instantly. The ruler of the hidden village was now just a fragile old man trapped in a hurricane. Every object in the room began to fracture under the weight of the Saiyan's terrible pride. The shadows could no longer hide the ANBU. The pressure was literally crushing the architecture around them, stripping away all their stealth. The village's deadliest assassins fell like lifeless puppets. Their finely tuned muscles completely paralyzed by absolute terror. Elite training meant absolutely nothing. In the face of a cosmic predator, they were reduced to helpless prey, pinned to the floor. It was a brutal display of hierarchy. Vegeta didn't even look at them. He just let gravity explain the difference in their power levels. The building itself was seconds away from completely collapsing, entirely unable to contain the suppressed energy of a Saiyan prince. Hiruzen finally understood the horrifying reality. This wasn't a rogue ninja. This was a walking extinction event. But the most terrifying part? Vegeta perfectly shielded the boy. Naruto felt absolutely nothing but a gentle morning breeze. Having clearly demonstrated who was actually in charge of the room, Vegeta finally decided it was time to speak. He eased the gravity just a fraction. Just enough for the old man's lungs to function and hear his royal decree.
I'm only staying in this weak village until I find a way home. Don't ever mistake me for one of your pathetic pawns.
Hiruzen was a master politician, but politics meant absolutely nothing when a single man could vaporize the entire nation on a whim.
And the loudmouth kid is under my protection now. If your masked rats step out of line, I'll erase this entire continent.
The negotiation was over. Konoha didn't gain a new weapon today, they gained a terrifying overlord they could only pray to appease. The political tension was finally settled, but the hidden village was about to face a completely different kind of absolute disaster. Saiyan metabolism is an entirely different beast. Vegeta required an absolute mountain of calories just to maintain his physical density. Naruto thought he loved ramen, but watching this guy eat was like witnessing a black hole swallow a galaxy. The poor owner was on the verge of a panic attack. This one meal had completely wiped out his weekly inventory. Of course, the prince wasn't carrying any local currency. But he did have an unlimited expense account from a very stressed old man. Word of the catastrophic bill traveled fast, delivered directly to the highest office in the Land of Fire. Hiruzen had negotiated treaties with enemy nations, but nothing prepared him for the sheer financial devastation of a Saiyan's lunch. The village's budget for rebuilding infrastructure was officially gone in a single afternoon. Being a hostage was getting expensive. Meanwhile, deep in the training grounds, the real nightmare was just about to begin for the village's #1 knucklehead. Naruto was ecstatic. He finally had a master who didn't look at him like he was a cursed plague. Driven by pure emotion, the kid did the one thing you should absolutely never do to a Saiyan royal. Personal space was a religion for Vegeta. The physical contact sent his body into an immediate, violent system shock. Every warrior instinct screamed at him to blast the kid away. It took every ounce of his legendary willpower not to. Once again, that damn phantom image of his son flashed before his eyes, completely ruining his ruthless reputation. Instead of a massacre, the deadly space warrior just pinched the kid's collar, completely utterly defeated by fatherhood.
Listen to me, you smelly brat! If you ever touch my combat gear again, I will throw you into the sun!
The heartwarming moment was officially over. It was time to break this kid down to his absolute physical core. No jutsu. No chakra. Just the absolute, agonizing fundamentals of pure physical weight and gravity. He thought he knew what hard work was. But Saiyan training was designed to push the body until it literally shattered.
Oh man, the third Hokage is literally about to go bankrupt. But for real, how wholesome is tsundere dad Vegeta? Smash that like button if you're loving this duo.
Every step tore at his muscle fibers. Every breath burned his lungs like absolute fire. He was being reforged. Vegeta offered zero comfort. He pushed, he insulted, he demanded perfection. He was forging a weapon, not coddling a child. His body simply gave out. The sheer weight of the training was entirely too much for a normal human vessel. The prince didn't offer a hand. If the kid wanted to stay on the ground, he would leave him there forever. But Naruto didn't stay down. Fueled by the desperation to prove himself, he forced his shattered muscles to obey. Underneath that brutal exterior, Vegeta felt a spark of genuine respect. The brat actually had the stubborn spirit of a Saiyan. The physical torture lasted until the sun dipped below the horizon, but the hellish training was only halfway done. Vegeta tried to impart the deeper theories of combat. Weight distribution, reading the opponent's center of gravity, the flow of energy. Unfortunately, listening to complex biomechanical theories after 10 hours of manual labor was the ultimate sleep medicine for an idiot. The sheer disrespect of falling asleep mid-lecture snapped his patience entirely. He was dealing with another cockroach. If words couldn't penetrate that thick skull, then raw physical pain absolutely would. A flick from a Saiyan is basically equal to getting hit by a runaway freight train right between the eyes. He woke up instantly, convinced he had just been assassinated by an enemy ninja.
Sleeping on the battlefield gets you killed, idiot! 100 more laps around the forest, right now! Move!
The legendary bell test was about to begin. But for Team 7, the biggest challenge was just waiting for their chronically late teacher. Kakashi finally showed up, completely killing the tension with his famously lazy, unbothered attitude. The rules were brutally simple. Get a bell before noon, or go back to the academy. A classic shinobi psychological trap. Hidden high above the drama, Vegeta was ready to see if his hellish physical conditioning actually paid off for the blonde kid. Sasuke and Sakura instantly followed ninja rule number 1, conceal your presence and plan an ambush. But Naruto? He just stood there. Hiding was for weaklings who didn't train with a Saiyan prince. The kid was literally just mimicking Vegeta's body language. It was simultaneously the funniest and most embarrassing thing ever. Kakashi didn't even bother putting his book away. To an elite jonin, this was just sad.
You're going down, Kakashi-sensei! I'm gonna show you the Royal Saiyan way!
He had the spirit, sure. But the execution? Absolute garbage. Naruto completely forgot to watch his footing. Rule number 1 of biomechanics, if your base is compromised, your entire attack is completely useless. Gravity took over immediately. The Grand Saiyan charge turned into a spectacular, flailing disaster. He hit the dirt so hard it probably echoed all the way to the Hokage's office. Just embarrassing. Kakashi didn't even know what to say. He actually felt bad for whatever master taught him that ridiculous pose. Up in the tree, Vegeta was dying inside. His Saiyan pride was actively bleeding out from secondhand embarrassment.
Good grief! Don't you dare tell anyone you're my student, you absolute clown!
But the kid was nothing if not resilient. He brushed the dirt off, his embarrassment instantly morphing into pure focus. He stopped trying to act cool. He remembered the agony of the boulder, the lectures, the grueling physical conditioning. His entire posture transformed instantly. No wasted movement. A perfect, grounded center of gravity ready to explode with kinetic force. Kakashi's Jonin instincts immediately fired off. That wasn't a sloppy genin stance. That was the footing of a seasoned striker. No hand signs. No chakra molding. Just pure, unadulterated biomechanical propulsion pushing him forward like a bullet. Kakashi prepared to block it casually. He assumed it was just another desperate, lightweight punch from a hyperactive kid. But he was dead wrong. Naruto planted his foot, rooting himself entirely to the earth to generate massive torque. The kid channeled every single ounce of his body weight, rotating his hips perfectly just like the Saiyan taught him. The impact wasn't magical. It was pure, devastating physics. A perfect transfer of kinetic energy directly into Kakashi's guard. The Jonin's casual defense was instantly shattered. The sheer density of the punch felt like getting hit by a swinging boulder. Kakashi was actually forced to retreat. The elite ninja skidded backward, entirely overwhelmed by the raw, unpolished physical strength. The playtime was officially over. Kakashi realized that if he didn't take this seriously, he was actually going to get hurt. From the shadows, Sasuke watched in horror. The dead last loser had just overpowered a Jonin with nothing but his bare hands. Up above, Vegeta finally smiled. The brat wasn't totally useless after all. The real test of strength was just beginning. Kakashi knew that devastating punch wasn't just a lucky strike. He immediately traced the terrifying technique back to its source. The Prince of Saiyans welcomed the challenge. He had been itching to test the limits of this world's elite fighters. The book was put away. For the infamous copy ninja, playtime was officially over. Naruto was absolutely hyped. He had just knocked back an elite ninja and was ready to watch his master finish the job. Kakashi issued a silent challenge. He needed to measure exactly what kind of monster the Hokage had let into the village. Vegeta didn't hesitate for a microsecond. He dropped from the canopy like a literal anvil falling from the sky. He didn't even use chakra to cushion his fall. The sheer physical density of his landing caused a localized earthquake. Kakashi's defensive instincts flared instantly. This opponent was operating on an entirely different level of physics. Against an anomaly this dangerous, Kakashi knew he couldn't hold anything back. It was time to level the playing field. The legendary Sharingan was unleashed. With this eye, Kakashi could read chakra flows and predict movements before they even happened. Vegeta simply smiled. He had fought aliens with mind control and time-stopping abilities. A fancy red eye meant absolutely nothing. Vegeta attacked. No energy blasts, no flying. Just pure, devastating physical velocity that shattered the sound barrier instantly. Kakashi's ultimate weapon completely short-circuited. There was absolutely no chakra to read. To the Sharingan, Vegeta was entirely invisible. Absolute panic set in. Without a chakra signature to track, the copy ninja was practically fighting blindfolded. By the time Kakashi's normal vision finally registered the blur, the Prince of Saiyans was already standing inside his guard.
Doesn't matter how cracked that Sharingan is if there's zero chakra to read. Drop some fire emojis in the chat for raw physical stats.
Operating entirely on muscle memory, Kakashi launched a blind, desperate counterattack aimed directly at Vegeta's throat. Kakashi's movements were utterly predictable. He didn't need magic eyes to read a terrified opponent throwing a desperate punch. While Kakashi was busy looking for chakra, Vegeta was simply watching how the man's feet interacted with the gravity of the earth. One shift in weight. That was all the data the prince needed to completely dismantle the elite ninja's entire defense. By reading the physical weight on Kakashi's back foot, Vegeta moved into his blind spot at the exact millisecond he couldn't retreat. It was absolute martial arts perfection. Vegeta simply walked through his defense as if the Jonin was a stationary training dummy. Kakashi's mind went completely blank. For the first time in a decade, the legendary copy ninja was entirely at someone else's mercy. A simple, effortless flick of a finger. But coming from a Saiyan, it carried the kinetic force of a solid cannonball. The raw physical force transferred perfectly through the skull, violently overriding Kakashi's entire nervous system in a single microsecond. The elite Jonin was launched backward like a broken toy, entirely powerless against the overwhelming physical disparity. He hit the tree with enough force to crack the trunk. The spar was over before he even realized it started. The kids watched their elite sensei get dismantled with a literal flick of a finger. Their entire worldview was completely shattered.
I felt you hiding a deadly spark in your hand. Next time, don't hold back against me.
Kakashi had to admit defeat. With a throbbing headache and a completely bruised ego, he officially passed Team 7.
That was insane. Will Sasuke survive Vegeta's hell? Vote on screen. Scan that QR to fund episode 2. Catcha.